That Indiana Fever locker room must be a terrible place. It's got to be awful. It's got to be awful, all the, I don't know, positive attention that the team is getting as a result of Caitlin Clark being on the team. I saw the ratings, and the WNBA has basically become the NBA overnight when it comes to ratings. And I get it. There's been, some yahoos on social media, okay? But the vast majority of people are new fans who are paying their hard-earned money to fill up seats and are setting record ratings. And by the way, who are also becoming fans of other members of the Fever. Exhibit A being Kelsey Mitchell, who had this to say about her newfound recognition and notoriety.
But I think you're starting to get a little bit more shine from maybe the casual fan and maybe some folks who maybe didn't know or haven't seen Indiana as much as they've seen this year.
I agree.
So what's that part like? Getting that little bit more attention and getting a little bit more shine and getting the recognition that you deserve, but maybe weren't necessarily getting before.
No, it's a great question. I think that I think the reality of it is that I don't think people would know without C squared. So shout out to Caitlin. That's just the reality. I think she's done an unbelievable job of bringing, obviously her own fans and people that support her. But, for me, I kind of laugh at it and I embrace it at the same time because I've always kind of flew under the radar. I've always kind of been that person or that player, very conservative, very introvert. So now I get to see the flip side of it. It's kind of funny. I can laugh about it because I know it's come from a genuine place, but I embrace it from a standpoint of like people not, guaranteed to see me play, and now that they do, I just hope I do right by it, I just hope I don't F it up.
It's a little bit like, hey, see what y'all been missing? That's what you got to start telling them. See what y'all been missing?
Kelsey Mitchell, by the way, I mean, that's spot on. Terrific player, but she's been in Indiana her whole career, and people haven't really talked about her like that. Now that she's playing alongside Caitlin Clark, not only is her game amplified, the best parts of her game, but her presence is recognized more. She is now a bigger star to the point where people can go, Kelsey Mitchell's actually the best player on the Fever, who weren't ever talking about Kelsey Mitchell before. And it's cool to see Kelsey recognize that. And it is cool to see Kelsey get the shine because you see Kelsey Mitchell signs, Kelsey Mitchell jerseys. You see people talk about the backcourt, give them a nickname, all those things. And that is a good thing for Kelsey Mitchell's career and presence in the WNBA. Then there's Erica Wheeler, who had this to say about the team, a veteran presence, had this to say.
All we do is have fun. With Caitlin Clark, who never takes anything serious, like I tell people all the time, she's really a kid at heart. And then also like Christy and the coaching staff, they're lighthearted, so they allow us to have fun. But there's moments where we need to be serious, and we are serious, but majority of the time we having fun because you gotta understand the outside world was really trying to get inside this building. We just didn't let it. And having fun is a great way to kind of keep that up.
The outside world, Cheryl Swoops and others. There's a lot of people, obviously. But Wheeler has been a good veteran presence for this Fever team. She has brought, a level of enthusiasm, a level of professionalism, a level of experience. And I think she's done a good job in her role, which is now a limited one for someone who's paid as much as she is, a limited role, but she has still brought the requisite, approach to that is necessary and has done well. And I saw her post online later that day that Iowa fans had actually treated her to dinner. They had caught her catching dinner and paid for it. So it goes to show you some of that big, massive fan base is actually positive. And by the way, I noticed a Christy Sides credit in there. I know Christy Sides doesn't get a ton of credit, so I want to make sure it's noted. Wheeler and Sides, I think, clearly have a pretty good relationship, at least from what I've gathered on the outside. But there's another player, Kelsey Mitchell says, hey, Caitlin Clark brought a lot of recognition to me. Erica Wheeler said, hey, Caitlin Clark brought a lot of fun to the team. And then there's the fun that you can actually see out on the court, that coming from, in this case, Katie Lou Samuelson and Caitlin Clark. You see a little bit of a tap out. Clark there. Tap. So does that look like a team that hates each other? Does that look like a team that hates the attention and the love that they're getting when they're on the road and 20,000 people come to the arena? Look, I get there's the NaLyssa Smith thing. And NaLyssa Smith and her relationship with Dejanay Carrington and in a possible Sun series and what she said online the other day, that's a whole little separate category. And I've worried about Smith's erratic play and stated that a million times. But for the vast majority of the roster, when it comes to AB and Clark clearly being close, when it comes to Lexi and Clark clearly being close, when it comes to what you just saw from Katie Lou Samuelson, and that's probably the only time Katie Lou should touch the floor, if we're being honest about it. You see that. You see what Wheeler had to say, and you just use your own eyes, right? Like you just see the brand of basketball that Clark brings to the table, where she's going to make sure everybody's eating. She's going to play at a fast pace. Obviously, she competes out on the court. You've got the whole de-escalation committee deal going on. But off the court, someone who obviously likes to have a lot of fun. You heard Wheeler talk about that. And then there's just the winning. I mean, it's a lot better to win half your games or more than half if they beat Washington rather than picking number one in the draft. Having already won more games this year than they did in the previous 2 seasons combined. So I'm sure some of the noise was overwhelming at the beginning of the year. I bet it was because it's new. And there were some fans, Clark fans specifically, I think early in the year, who weren't giving the rest of the team the proper credit or were blaming everybody but Caitlin for things that went wrong. But eventually, all of that kind of dissipated. And when you have such a massive fan base, it only increases the love that each player is going to get. And Clark's fans seem to really love the players who do well around Clark or who Clark seems to bond with. And that is basically the entire team at this point. It doesn't mean the Indiana Fever are going to win the WNBA championship. It doesn't mean the Indiana Fever are going to win a first-round playoff series. But I think you can officially see that the culture of the Indiana Fever has changed in Caitlin Clark's rookie season. And you can see, despite what people might want to chatter about online, that Caitlin Clark's teammates like being a part of that culture, like playing with her, like, being on the receiving end of her assists, and like being on a winning squad. And I think the Fever right now are squad goals.